All right. I'm ready to go. What would you like to know? I'm Les Stone. Been a photographer for 25 years now, quarter of a century, almost all my adult life. I live up here in the Catskill Mountains, where I enjoy my peace and quiet. After traveling to lots of terrible places, great places, but terrible places. I chose to become a photographer because I couldn't figure out anything else to do. Seemed like a great idea at the time. I had no idea it would turn out to be so much work and so much heartache and so much pain and at this point so much difficulty in career-wise. But I've enjoyed every moment of it. I chose a lot of the subjects I photograph probably because, psychologically speaking, ever since I was a kid, I was extremely angry. Photography for me is a catharsis. Every time I go out and feel the misery of the world, I sort of channel myself through it all and somehow return from it a person with understanding. I think, understand myself, try to understand what's going on in the world, and I just have always gravitated towards serious subjects. At first I thought it was, it was painful for me, and it was. I used to be very alienated when I'd come back from all these places I'd go to, and I process it differently than I did when I was a kid. Feel more mature. I feel it's easier for me to deal with some of the things. Plus, I live in this place. I can come back here and I can decompress. When I lived in the city, I couldn't do that, so I was always on edge. And I've always liked edgy stories. I've always liked, I hate to say it, but it was the violence and the adrenaline for years that made me tick. Now it's maybe half that. I don't really gravitate towards death and destruction anymore. And I don't, run towards the bullets anymore. I don't run towards the noise. I just don't, it's not my thing anymore. But the subjects, such as Haiti, such as Africa, painful subjects for most people, especially the people it's happening to, are still my interest. I can't help it. It's something that I'm drawn to, like a fly to honey. To answer your question about why I want people to see what I photograph, when I was younger, I really thought that I would make a difference. I'm not sure that one half of my mind was egotistically driven and the other half was driven by showing people the world and the way things were. I've sort of come to the conclusion that it was a combination of both of them. In the last few years I've sort of lost my work isn't being published, let's put it that way. And I've sort of lost the momentum to show the feeling of change that I thought I could bring by showing work from places that people just can't believe shit is going on like that. I don't see it anymore. I don't see that makes a difference anymore. The media has changed, the world has changed. People are desensitized. I'm desensitized. Unfortunately, I'm not sure I care that much anymore. I'm continuing to do it because I want to do it and I feel it's important, but it bothers me that I feel like I'm in a black hole of a non-caring world. Thousands, millions of images just come and go. Social networking, Twitter, Facebook, you name it, there's images on it. And it's just desensitized everybody. It's become extremely difficult for me to continue what I like to do. It used to be when I was a young photographer, I was scared all the time. You get an assignment, you get on the plane, you go, you've got no clue what you're doing when you get off that plane. You sort of fumble through everything and you make it happen. You're overly confident, you're arrogant. You don't want to even accept the idea that you may not know what you're doing. But now I get on a plane or I get an assignment and it's like being in the Army. My instinct takes over. I have 25 years of training. I can get off that plane, know exactly what I want to do, know exactly what I'm looking at, do my scouting. I shoot corporate, I shoot documentary, I shoot news, but I know exactly what I'm doing now. My instincts are so good that it's almost like my camera has a mind of its own, especially when I'm in the zone of shooting, where the camera or my brain is sort of moving faster than my thought process of making the image. I think there's an inner sanctum inside every photographer that's buried deep, especially people who do wars or conflict photography. I think they're all kind of crazy, frankly. You know, whatever the psychological reasons are for doing it, because nobody in their right mind would actually do it. When I first started photographing, for example, in Haiti, which was the first place I ever went to, and this is 1987, got off the plane that evening, and the next morning I was out photographing. The first thing I ever did, first foreign assignment, I saw 50 people killed. I saw violence. I just couldn't, I got shot at. I mean, everything happened to me all in one day. I mean, it's not the violence in Haiti that I'm hooked on. It's the people, it's the country, it's just I can't even describe it to you. It's everything about this country. I've been hooked ever since I got off the plane and set foot there. And I've been going back since '87. I've gone maybe 80 or more times. I can't get enough of it. Why do I photograph voodoo? That's a very good question. And I'm not sure if it's whether it's a lack of religion or spirituality in my life, that I like to go and see the depth of somebody else's spirituality. Complete belief system that other people are deeply involved in and deeply believe. And it sort of gives me a perspective on the world that I didn't grow up with. I mean, I'm Jewish, and there was the Holocaust and everything, but I'm not a religious person. I don't believe in any of it. But these incredible worshipers in Haiti truly believe in these spirits of their ancestors and reincarnation and God. I mean, voodoo is a religion of one God. It's actually so close to Christianity that they've adopted and mingled all the Christian saints and Christian holidays and all the African beliefs into one system. I absolutely love photographing it. About 5 years ago, I went to West Africa for the Soros Foundation. I was photographing all over West Africa. So I spent 4 months going in and out of all these countries. But during that time, I was able to do my own work, which I did with Soros. I mean, they actually used the work, which was great. You know, they weren't expecting it, but if you're in Sierra Leone and you're in the diamond region, you're going to photograph the story about diamonds. So that's what I did. I'd say I got 75% of what I wanted. I mean, it's a very difficult story to do. You're out in the middle of nowhere. Every village and town you're in northeastern Sierra Leone is destroyed. So there's nowhere to stay, really. You're staying in UN camp. You know, and then these diamond mines are all over the countryside. I mean, they're really rivers and streams and, you know, holes in the woods, and every village is involved, and former government soldiers and former rebels all working together. And so there's a lot of tension. You feel it when you're there. You know, these diamonds are called blood diamonds. These diamonds fueled the civil wars in West Africa and Central Africa and East Africa and everywhere. And gold, diamonds, all the minerals. I mean, Eastern Congo is totally crazed right now because of all the minerals, and everyone's fighting for them, causing, you know, thousands of rapes, killings. You know, and the rest of the world wants all this stuff. The Chinese want it, the Americans want it, the Russians want it, you know, everybody who's making cell phones needs it. These diamonds, they buy weapons. They don't buy food, they buy weapons. We make them, the Russians make them, the Chinese make them, but our biggest, you know, selling items in Africa are guns. The impact of the diamond trade on children is that the children all work in the diamond fields because all the families work in the diamond fields. Every family member. The girls don't work. I never saw a girl there, but, you know, a lot of the little kids, you know, 8, 9 years old, they may not be there during the day, but after everyone leaves to go back to the farm, what's left of the kids working on their own there. If you go to Sierra Leone, you see people walking around or not walking around with one leg or 2 legs missing or arms missing because they used it as a terror tool. They made the children kill their own parents. They made the children, you know, take drugs. The children are the frontline fighters. They send the, you know, 8, 9-year-old children to the front lines to fight because they're fearless. They have no idea what the, you know, pain of death is. You know, you look into some of these kids' eyes and they're empty. I've been going to West Virginia to photograph in the coal miners. This is done for a vision project. The poor are the poor are the poor everywhere. The first thing you need to do is feed yourself, feed your family, and you're going to take risks to feed yourself and feed your family. And these guys, they take incredible risks in these coal mines to their own health, to their family's health. I've met coal miners in their 50s that have black lung disease. I've met coal miners in their 80s that have black lung disease. I met a coal miner in his 30s that have black lung disease. We've done very well with this story because we convinced Governor Rockefeller's office to help one of the miners get his aid back that was cut off by the coal company. I know that, at this point in my life, I've come to the conclusion that I can affect my own little world a bit. But the bigger picture, I'm really not so sure. I'll continue to try. I mean, I love taking pictures, but I just don't, I'm just not sure. It's completely insane, really.